Alright, so this is going to be my review of the Madko. I'm also going to be comparing it to the Tsunami trainer, just going over the difference, and yeah. So the Madko, this is Squid's first channel titanium dedicated trainer. Comes in at 4.4 ounces, relatively the same length as every other Squid product, just like the usual 10 inches, whatever. Balance by itself, pretty neutral. I've heard people say it has like a Squid trainer balance. But if you prefer more handle bias, the Madko has these holes at the bottom that you can put the screws in to just add that little more balance that if you want it, which is nice because then it technically has like the interchangeable balance. Obviously inspired from the Mako platform, the Madko, so it has the little ball opener and all that. Just going over aesthetics, I think that the Madko is super, like, it just matches, everything just flows super well. My favorite part is like the speed channeling, how they have this little hole for the fin and they made it on both sides. The jimping is like spectacular. Not to like jump to the Nami immediately, but the Nami kind of has like interesting jimping. I know that they did mention, either it was like Lucas or someone from Squid mentioned that they try to make the jimping for every battle song that they do a little bit different, and so I can understand why they would do the difference, but I just think that the Madko jimping here is a billion times superior. We'll hit it in this video. And yeah, so they retail for $385. At the lowest, I think they go up to like $450 or something. They currently are only selling at, or they were only selling at, oh there we go, at Blade Show East? Yeah, definitely Blade Show East. And this is their first run, so yeah. I think this is more likely to hit the, this is just like my thoughts, but I think this is probably more likely to hit online stores, like the official online store, before the Nami, just because it's probably easier to mill than this. But yeah, the handles are very, like, you know, it's very Squid. They're very blocky, but they're not super blocky because they have like the nice round on the handle, so it's very comfortable in the hand. And yeah, okay. Now just for my own thoughts. It's a very windy day today. Hopefully the audio comes out fine. The Madko is kind of, I think it fits the standard preference a lot better than the Tsunami does. So if we're talking like Squid, like grails, like titanium grails, I think this is gonna fit the standards of people who like the Kraken a lot more than Nami will. Because a lot of people find the Nami weird. Like I know some people don't like how the Nami has like thinner handles, and even though the thickness I think is like the same, if not more, the roundness of the handles just feels weird to some people because it cuts off at the end, whereas the blocky handles stay flat the whole time, and so it just has a better feel in the hands for some people. So that was my first thought when I was trying the Madko. It's definitely more of a normal experience. I also think that at 4.4 ounces, it might be a little bit more appealing than the Nami. I know that initially, when 4-ounce values were coming out, especially titanium ones, people were like, the low weight took away from like the premium feeling of it, which I think is just weird. So maybe the Madko might be more appealing to you in that aspect, in terms of like a Squid Grail that's heavier, or it might be the turns. Like lighter knives are getting more popular. 4-ounce ballies are becoming more popular, and so 4.4 ounces in this scape, I think, is pretty interesting, and I think it's a little bit unique. 4.4 ounces for me is a little bit outside my comfort range, although it doesn't feel heavy. So if any of you guys like, you know, like the Glider Arctic, like glider products are pretty okay. But the Glider Arctic is about 4.4, 4.5 ounces, within like a 0.1 range. but the Arctic feels substantially heavier than this, and that's most likely probably because the weight is too concentrated on the bottom, and so it drags. When I flipped it, I remember having like a dragging feeling. But the Madko, the weight just feels so well distributed that I honestly can't feel the extra like weight that some people might complain about on a heavy knife. Like, it's just balanced super well, and I think that's like Squid's main thing, is that they can balance things super well. And the distributed weight is amazing. I had also made this comparison to a friend earlier, where I had mentioned that the comparison between the Nami and the Madko is kind of like the Kraken versus Knot in like a weird way. And let me explain. So the Kraken versus Knot argument was kind of like, the Knot is more fun, but the Kraken performs better, or is a better flipper. Which I think is true for some people, or a lot of people, because the Kraken is really nice, and a lot of people dislike the Nami. The Knot. I think the true might be here, or that might be true here as well. The Nami is not a lot of people's favorite battle song, and I think it definitely is like my number one, but I also didn't like the Kraken, so. But I know a lot of people don't like the Nami. It's just a little bit weird. The handles are thin. Some people might not like the interchangeable balance or the balance options that are available. Right now I have it in no weight, so it's pretty neutral, I'd say. Maybe like a slight handle bias. And some people might not like that. Whereas the balance of this, and then the handle size, or the width and all that, it's more like a Kraken. So it feels fuller in the hands. It has like a heavier weight, which people might prefer. I mean, the difference between the weight away from a Kraken is like 0.2 on both ends, because it's 4.0 and then 4.4. But just like having that extra weight might make this more like normal, I guess. But at the same time, like, the argument of Kraken versus Knot is still very much like, it's all preference. Like, the Knot, I would say, is like, I could flip a lot more better on a Knot than when I had a Kraken, because it's just my preference, right? And it's different for everybody. But if I had to describe the comparison between these two, I'd say this is more standard, well, this is a little bit more out of the box and fun. I definitely think so. I think I mentioned the price, but for $385 versus $500, both at their lowest, I think that $385 is an insane price for a titanium trainer, especially at a Squid. There are cheaper titanium trainers and ballys that are out there, that's true, but they're not Squid products. In addition, I also think that the Madko is a bit of a love letter to the Squid fans. And I would say that for like all Squid products are created with the consumer in mind, of course. But the Madko has just a series of things that people have been asking for. So, for example, people have been asking for a hardened blade or hardened Mako blade for a long time. They've also been asking for, when's the titanium trainer going to come out, or channel titanium. And so Squid was able to knock out a lot of the demands that they had out of us, the consumers, and put it into this bally. And so what I know about the Nami, and correct me if I'm wrong, but this is kind of like Squid's idea of like their perfect ballad song. The Madko is almost like Squid fulfilling a lot of the ideas that people have had, or wishes they've had for Squid to do on a new ballad. If that kind of makes sense. That might be a little bit confusing. I guess the TLDR would be the Nami is what Squid thinks Squid's ideal project, and then the Madko is like the consumer's ideal project. I don't know. I'm just kind of rambling. I think they both are amazing ballad songs though. But for $385, I think you cannot go wrong with this. $400 bottle opener, extremely worth it. I say for some closing personal notes, I know, so I do a lot of like spine grabby stuff like that. And so the fin here can get a little bit annoying. And you know, that's going to be an obvious problem, but they do have a nice, like, it's not sharp, but when I'm like grabbing it like this, like passing it like that, like it just feels out of the ordinary. But I think it's something that you can definitely get used to. Another thing is that the titanium, it's just completely milled out, so there's no texturing, unlike the Tsunami, which has like the little texturing on the sides. But I mean, for $115 less, like I could give or take it, to be honest, the texturing, because titanium itself is already really grippy. And so yeah, would I recommend the Madko? Oh yes, definitely. I think it's easier to consume value than the Nami, price wise and spec wise. And yeah, but if I had to say like Nami versus Madko, I still think Nami comes out on top. I'm kind of a dick rider when it comes to it, but Nami is, I think Squid totally hit out the ballpark with this one. But that's not to say that the Madko isn't a great flipper. They think the Madko is excellent. If you definitely are considering picking one up at a blade show, or if they ever come online in the future, I think you should definitely go for it. Right now, at the time when I got one, they're still being upcharged and scalped for a little bit more than they think they're worth. And so I would say wait for the market to deflate, but I think we've been waiting for the Nami market to deflate for forever. So good luck with that.